Hello, hello. Welcome to our monthly webinar here in our customer success customer training series. As you all are joining in, feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Tell us what institution you're coming from, say hello, and we'll get started here in just about a minute or so. Awesome. Well, it looks like the number of participants increasing has somewhat stabilized here, so I think we're good to go ahead and get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started with our presentation here. Alrighty, awesome. Perfect. All right, awesome. Well, welcome to our monthly Course Dog customer training webinar series here. For the month of August, our topic is going to be going through integration best practices. So for those of you who might be attending these customer success webinars for the first time, just wanted to kind of set the stage with what the purpose of these sessions really are. Really, the goal coming out of this session is for you all to be enabled to be getting the most out of your products by mastering important concepts and functionality. In this case, that's going to be strategies for managing your integration between CourseDog and your SIS. Also going to be guiding you towards successful outcomes by preventing issues, being proactive, sharing our troubleshooting tips, techniques, best practices, and we'll also go through some frequently asked questions as well. As far as the intended audience goes here, really any and all are welcome, but this is going to be slightly more tailored towards your CourseDog super users and admins, especially for today's webinar, going to be tailored a little bit more towards the technical folks who might be managing your integrations, but definitely all are welcome here. So if you're not one of those folks, definitely feel free to stick around here. We're happy to have you here. Awesome. So for our agenda today, we'll start with a couple of introductions, then we'll go through some integration do's and don'ts, including some troubleshooting tips there. Then I'm also joined by my colleague Jane, who will be giving us a sneak peek preview at the new integration hub that will be coming later this year here. Very exciting updates that we have coming, so I'm very excited that we have Jane here to share that with us. Then once we go through those, we will have a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A using that Q&A functionality within the Zoom webinar feature here. And then we'll wrap up there, and that will pretty much be our session here for today. So with that, let's go ahead and kick off our introductions here. So hello, I think a number of you might know me. Some institutions that I'm working with are here present today, but I'm Sam Starks, one of our customer success managers here at CourseDog, and I'm joined by Jane, one of our product managers. Jane, do you want to quickly introduce yourself here?
Hi, great to meet you all. I have been a course dog for 2 years now. I was a data engineer previously, and I'm transitioning to the product team. So I'm really excited about fleshing out our integrations experience and definitely open to any feedback that you all have about how we can make integrations better.
Perfect. Awesome. Super excited to have you here, Jane. Alrighty, so let's jump into really the meat of our content here today. So starting off with some integration do's, gonna kind of start with a high level overview of kind of how we recommend you approach regularly managing your integrations, merges, and what tools we offer here at CourseDog to do so. So we kind of recommend approaching this management in kind of a three-pronged style. I think the most obvious is going to be that third item that I have there, that troubleshooting piece. Going to be very important when you do ultimately surface those merge errors that you might be encountering. Having some troubleshooting strategies is always going to be super helpful, but just as important, if not more, is also ensuring that you have proactive monitoring and operations put in place to be able to quickly surface those issues, identify what the problem is, leverage those troubleshooting techniques to ultimately get those errors resolved or even prevent them from coming up or happening altogether here. So those kind of three different strategies we'll be talking through in greater detail in the coming slides here is going to be ways that you can be regularly monitoring your merges, ways that you can proactively be notified anytime something happens with your integration that's unexpected, as well as some other things that you can be proactively monitoring and checking as your nightly and real-time merges run. And we will also be highlighting some operational features that we have within the CourseDog platform, again, to help you have better transparency and visibility into what has happened via merges and even when merges are currently happening to avoid any changes happening at the same time that your merges might. So we'll spend some time talking through each one of these three kind of pillars here in the coming slides. So starting off first with one of our biggest do's here, that's going to be regular monitoring, specifically regular monitoring of your merge errors. So as most of you likely are aware, within the admin panel in CourseDog, you do have access to those merge errors for any and all of your nightly or real-time merges that are running between CourseDog and your SIS. First one we're going to be touching on here is going to be those merge email notifications. So for those of you who aren't aware of this feature, it's a very, very handy feature that I actually would recommend every institution using CourseDog has at least one person identified to be receiving those merge email notifications. Right here on the right-hand side, you can see a screenshot of an example merge report email that we have that gets sent out. And in just a second, I'll show you where you can actually subscribe users to get these automated emails. But it's a great way to proactively get those emails from the CourseDog system, letting you know how the previous nightly merge ran, whether or not there were any errors. You actually can even configure those notifications so that they only send you an email if there's an error, which again, I'll show you here in just a second. But as I said, definitely recommend having at least one person on your team who's designated to be receiving those emails. That way you're not waiting to actually see an error happen, or you're not waiting to catch a potential error between CourseDog and your SIS. You're getting those real-time, as soon as possible email notifications anytime a merge might error. So since we've got some time, I'm going to take a second to pull up my CourseDog demo environment to just briefly show you how you can subscribe those users to those notification emails. So give me one moment while I pull up my staging environment, and I'll show you where you can find that. Perfect. All right, so I just pulled up my admin panel for what is my demo environment here, but you can pretend that this is your own production or staging environment here for your institution. So as you can see, I am here on the admin panel for my CourseDog environment. Now, over on the left-hand side, about halfway down the list here, we have this option for merge notifications. Now, if I go ahead and select that option here, You can see right now, because this is just my demo environment, I currently don't have any users subscribed to these merge notifications, but if you have already subscribed users for your institution for these merge notifications, those users would be listed here by email, as well as the corresponding notification settings for each one of those users. So quickly, I'll just go in, add myself as a user to receive these merge notifications. Once I've entered in that email, I can go ahead and select add. Now you'll notice it'll default to the notification setting of send daily, which means I will receive an email in my inbox every single morning after the nightly merge has run, essentially summarizing all of the activity that happened in that prior night's nightly merge. Now, some folks may not necessarily want to be notified or get that summary of every single merge. You might just more so be interested in only getting notified when something errors or something isn't able to merge successfully between CourseDog and your SIS. And if that's the case for you or any of your users, you can just select this drop-down option here, and you'd select the item or option send if issue. And this will mean that you'll only receive a merge notification email if it's triggered by some kind of error or incomplete merge that happened the prior night before. So depending on your personal preferences, might prefer to only receive emails if there's an issue, whereas others might want to have a more transparent and kind of finger on the pulse as far as their merges go. So if that's the case for you, definitely can use that send daily option as well there. Perfect. So the second regular monitoring strategy we have here is leveraging for our scheduling customers the integrations error dashboard and report that we have within the scheduling product. And then for our non-scheduling customers or customers who might have additional products like curriculum or catalog in addition to scheduling, we also do have the general merge reports that can be found in the admin panel. Now this screen over here, we'll touch on in a couple of slides again as well, and I'll show you where this lives in the CourseDog system, but this is just an example of what the scheduling error dashboard looks like. It does a really excellent job of itemizing each of your sections that errored, listing them one by one with the corresponding error message, as you can see here over on the right-hand side, just to make it a little bit easier to kind of cipher through which sections are having problems with their merges and which ones aren't there. So for those using scheduling, would definitely recommend checking out the errors dashboard within the reports section in scheduling if you haven't checked that out already. Otherwise, for our non-scheduling customers, you can access merge reports for merges for all of the entities that you have integrated between CourseDog and your SIS in the merge reports option over on the left-hand side of the admin panel, in that same spot that you saw me add the merge notifications section there. Last thing that I'll call out here as well, specifically for those of you who are frequently in troubleshooting integrations or might want some knowledge on things to be looking out for your integrations, especially things that might be specific to your SIS. I do want to highlight a wonderful article that we have in our Freshdesk knowledge base. Specifically within the integrations section of Freshdesk, we have an article called Error, FAQs, and Troubleshooting. And this is a great article that has not only general common merge errors, but it also has student information specific common merge errors that we see customers frequently running into, as well as their solutions or a recommended next step in trying to resolve those issues there. So another one of those items, if you haven't checked that out before, would definitely recommend going over to our help center. That'll bring you to our Freshdesk knowledge base, where we do have this article housed there. All right, so the next thing that we do recommend you are regularly monitoring is the integrations reports and the conflict reports. So conflicts are a really good thing to be looking out for. You want to make sure that you're keeping data accuracy and consistency between both CourseDog and your SIS, making sure that there is no misaligned fields, and that you're ready to jump in and resolve those errors as soon as you identify those potential conflicts. So this was a screen that I had showed you a couple of slides back, again, within the errors dashboard for scheduling specifically. So we were looking at the integration errors field a couple of slides ago, but now I'm highlighting the out of sync fields section of that dashboard. It's a really, really handy place to check out specifically for scheduling, where you can check if you have any specific fields on any of your sections where the data or values for those fields in CourseDog don't match the same fields in your student information system. This is one of those proactive ways that's great to get ahead of those merges. Would definitely recommend on some kind of regular cadence checking these out of sync fields, because that might be a great opportunity for you to get ahead of a potential merge that might fail during the preceding nightly merge there if you're already able to flag those fields as being out of sync. The next page that I'll call out here as well, which is another report that we have within scheduling, is the conflict report. Now, this isn't necessarily something that is specific to integration errors or things that might necessarily trigger an integration error, but I think is something that's definitely good, similar to those integration reports, to be regularly monitoring. It summarizes essentially every single section where there is either some kind of conflict, whether that be a meeting conflict, a time conflict, or even a conflict with the instructor assigned to multiple sections there. It will also flag additional sections that are violating any of your section rules that you've configured in scheduling there. So I'll take a brief moment again to show you where you can find this within the scheduling product. So I'm going to pull my demo environment back here. And this time I'm going to jump over into the scheduling product. And then I'm going to scroll down about halfway to this reports option. And this is where both the integration error dashboard is housed, as well as that conflicts report. So I'm going to start here with the conflicts report that I was just mentioning. It's the third item here down the list, over on our left-hand navigation bar. And as I mentioned, this will call out all sections that have some kind of rule violation or conflict already identified. You can see a few different examples here that I have just from some staging data that I have in my demo environment. The one thing that I'll specifically call out here is that this is term specific. So this will not be a comprehensive view of every single conflict that you have between CourseDog and your SIS, or rule violations that might be happening in CourseDog. So did want to highlight that you do need to select or click through the necessary terms there if you are ultimately looking to have that all in one picture for every single section that might have a conflict in the system. The additional item that I wanted to mention here as well is going back to that integration errors dashboard that we have here. So called this out several slides ago, the integration error dashboard. This is where it will list section by section any of your section entities that are erroring during either a real-time or nightly merge. And then this is that second tab that I was calling out as well, that will highlight any fields that are out of sync between your SIS and CourseDog. Again, super great proactive report that you can be checking here to try to get ahead of any potential merge errors that you might run into. Awesome. Now, another item that we do recommend, kind of more on the operational side of things, some features that I wanted to highlight that we have within the platform, specifically around transparency and visibility into any merge errors or even potential merge errors here is going to be that activity log, something that is within scheduling as well as curriculum and catalog, and then also our merge in progress warning here. So first highlighting the activity log, and this is actually something I want to call out to folks that has recently changed. Something, again, we'll highlight in a couple of slides here, but did want to note that the activity log that previously was combined with the comment section over in the right-hand sidebar, specifically within scheduling, has now actually been separated out as its own standalone tab here next to the ability to actually edit those sections here. So we now have a much more robust and detailed activity log specifically for sections there that does a great job of visualizing every single change that's happened to a given section in CourseDog here. So as an example, in this screenshot, you can see values that are highlighted in green are the net new value or added value that was placed in that field. And anything highlighted in red with that strike through indicates that that was the previous value that was no longer there. It also highlights who made that update. So in this case here, you can see virtually all of these changes were made by the integration. So that's another great place to check. If you see data that isn't quite how you would expect it to be, would definitely recommend checking out that activity log first to see if that's something that maybe a user made an unintended change to, or if it was something that happened via your nightly merge, where that was a change that was made in your SIS that via that nightly merge ultimately resulted in that change in CourseDog there. So definitely would recommend keeping an eye on that activity log. Not only a proactive measure, but also a great tool to have for troubleshooting purposes as well. The second option I'll highlight here, or the second feature really I'll highlight here, is our merge in progress warning. So for our scheduling customers here, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this blue banner that pops up at the top of your screen. Definitely not a pop-up to ignore here, as this pop-up really is warning you that you have merges currently running and that making any changes mid those merges running could ultimately result in either a merge error or unintended data changes that were not intended and should not have happened there. So did want to highlight this blue banner here, both for you as well as your end users, to really follow that warning there, and do strongly recommend that you hold off on making any changes to any of that data until those merges have completed and ultimately that blue banner does go away there. And then last but not least, one of the most important dues that we have is submit a Freshdesk ticket. We of course want you to try to troubleshoot as much as you can, but if you've gone through those troubleshooting techniques, you've checked where you can, and you just simply can't resolve the integration error, or you're still not even sure what is causing that integration error, definitely don't hesitate to reach out for support. Log a support ticket through our help center, and our TSAs and data engineers will be on the sidelines ready to jump in and help you to make sure that you get those integration errors resolved. So definitely don't shy away from submitting those Freshdesk support tickets, and actually something that we'll be highlighting in a little bit here as Jane gives us an insight into what that new integration hub is going to look like for us. So wanted to highlight a couple of troubleshooting tips here before we jump into items that we recommend you do not do for your merges. So a couple of things to highlight here, specifically around troubleshooting those merge reports within the admin panel. And then also have a couple of things to call out over on the scheduling, curriculum, and program record side, specifically keeping tabs on what fields might be out of sync or might be misaligned between the two systems. So focusing specifically on merge reports here. So an item I'll show you in just a second how to get to this merge report screen, but this is something that's accessible within the admin panel. Again, over on that left-hand navigation bar, you have the option for merge reports. You'd go ahead and select that, and that would bring you to the page that you see here in this screenshot, which essentially is a report listing every single merge that has run between CourseDog and your SIS. So that includes merges for all data object types, whether that be sections, programs, courses, relationships, etc. And also will be every single type of merge type. So whether that be a real-time merge or a nightly merge there, or even a manual merge that you may have kicked off in real time as well. But the one troubleshooting technique that I did want to highlight here, again, specifically for sections and relationships only at this time, is the ability to search by the entity ID. So let's say you have a given section in CourseDog where you went in, you made an update. Let's say you assign an instructor and a meeting pattern to that section, and you make that update, you let the nightly merge run, you check your SIS the next morning, and those updates didn't make it ultimately to your SIS, and you're trying to figure out why. Because you know what section you're looking for, it would be incredibly helpful to go find the section ID within the section in CourseDog. You can go ahead and copy and paste that ID into the entity ID field here on your merge reports, and that will automatically surface the corresponding merge report so that you can see what information CourseDog attempted to send to the SIS, whether or not those changes were included in that, which can then better surface whether this might be a merge setting issue. It might be that those changes were undone prior to that nightly merge happening, but will help lead you in the right direction towards ultimately resolving those discrepancies. And the same would work for relationships as well. So sections that have relationships configured between the two of them. Next troubleshooting technique or tip I'll highlight here as well is keeping an eye on the SIS sync field over here on the right-hand side. Again, highlighting that this is currently just for scheduling only. So this is only something currently available for our sections in CourseDog, but a screen I'm sure most of you are familiar with when you open up that section editor for a given section. You have all of your section data here on the left-hand side. You have your comments, but there is also this SIS sync field, which if you see this green banner here that says CourseDog and SIS are in sync, that means that there should be a 100% match in the data between the fields in CourseDog and those same fields in your SIS. But if there happen to be any fields where there is a difference in data between the two, those will be highlighted here as well. So another great place to check if you see that a certain section failed, but you're not sure why or what data is differing between the two, rather than having to open up CourseDog on one internet browser and your SIS on another page, you can pull this up and CourseDog will automatically surface where fields are misaligned between the two there. Now, let's spend some time talking through some integration don'ts. First and foremost, definitely do not recommend updating anything merge setting wise or anything that could impact your merges in production before testing that in staging first. So one of the great things about CourseDog is that we empower you as admins to be managing your integrations and the corresponding configuration and determining how that data flows between CourseDog and your SIS. But as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So definitely recommend that anytime you do make any changes that could ultimately impact your integration, want to make sure that we're testing those changes in staging first prior to production. That way we can surface any potential unintended impacts that might happen by making those changes. I do have a number of things here on the kind of bottom half of this screen highlighting specific items that you might want to be constantly aware of that could ultimately have an impact to your integration if you do make changes to them. So that includes things like your templates and forms. So your templates serve as one of the main kind of pipelines in specifying what is coming from your SIS to CourseDog or from CourseDog to your SIS there. So any changes that you make to a template or a form could ultimately impact the way that your merges perform. So that's an item that we recommend making those changes, test those changes in staging before you do ultimately make them in production as well. And then a few, I think, kind of more obvious items because they are specifically pertinent to your merges and integrations are going to be your attribute mappings, your integration filters, and your merge settings, all of which are configured, at least in current state, within the admin panel in CourseDog there. So as I said, because those are all directly tied to how your merges are configured and how they perform. Most folks are already aware of these, but did want to re-highlight those as well, as making changes to those definitely would have some kind of behavioral change to your merges. So again, recommend making those changes in staging before production there. And I'll also give a little bit of a plug here as well. If your staging environment is a little bit outdated or your configuration for things like your templates and forms aren't in sync or aren't really up to date between production and staging, we do offer a service to clone your production configuration specifically down into your staging environment. So if that's something you think you all are overdue for, would definitely recommend submitting that production to staging clone ticket type through our help center here. Second item I'll call out as a don't is don't neglect those release notes that we send out every month here at CourseDog. So if you aren't currently receiving those release notes, please reach out to your customer success manager. They're the one who will ultimately be able to make sure you're subscribed to those, make sure you're receiving those. But do want to highlight that you definitely should not be neglecting to really read those release notes. A couple of things that have come out just in a recent release note. Product-wide are things like that new section activity log that I highlighted a couple of times in the various screenshots or demos that we had here, as well as the new curriculum out of sync step proposal functionality that we have, and another new exciting update we made to our merges across all products is the automated new term merges behavior. So just a few things we've called out in our recent release notes that have pretty significant impact to both the behavior and performance of your merges and the accuracy of your integrated data there. So things like that we're constantly calling out and noting in our release notes. So definitely want to make sure that you're not missing out on that information there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jane here now to give us a quick sneak peek preview into the new Integrations Hub feature that we have coming later this year.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you so much for going through those do's and don'ts. Definitely echo everything that Sam said as far as integration best practices. And like Sam mentioned, I'm excited to preview some things that are coming soon for the integrations experience. So we're going to be launching what we're calling the Integrations Hub, which is intended to make the management of your integrations easier to understand, and more of a daily checklist for you to come in and resolve merge errors and make sure that your integration is healthy. So Sam, if you want to click into it, perfect. So on the overview screen in the hub, really we're putting the focus on a lot of the areas Sam was talking about. So merge issues that require your attention. If you are familiar with the scheduling integration errors report that Sam highlighted, this is really going to be mirroring that, but across all products and all entities. So when you come into your overview screen, you're going to see all entities that currently have a merge error, whether that's a section, a course, a relationship. And when you're going to click into each individual error, you'll get specific steps to resolve that issue, and you'll actually be able to directly edit that object to resolve that right there. So we're trying to really just prevent the amount of time that your team spends digging through activity logs, matching that up with the merge report, and trying to figure out what the issue is with the sync. And we're just bringing that to the forefront so that you have clear steps to resolve those issues here. Feel free to click to the next one. Perfect. Another piece of feedback that we've gotten from some clients are that a lot of the areas that can impact integrations are spread throughout the admin panel. For example, integration filters, attribute mappings, and your merge settings all currently live in 3 different places in your admin panel. So we're shifting the view to be focused entity by entity. So for example, if you're looking at courses, you're going to be able to see all of the fields that are tied to that course object with the source of truth, the integration setup, what we support as far as get and post, all the information really you need to understand how your fields are being integrated. And then right from that same area is where you're going to edit your filters and your attribute mappings that are relevant to that object. So really trying to bring things together so that when you want to make adjustments to courses, for example, you can do everything within that one area of the hub. And then one more piece I want to call out, sort of related to the merge errors that we're presenting on the overview screen. Merge reports are getting a little bit of a facelift with clear error messages and steps to resolve errors that come up in nightly merges, as well as information about how many changes took place, whether that information was coming from the SIS, from CourseDog, and again, how you can resolve any issues that came up in that merge. Also, one other nice feature is right from the merge report screen, you're going to be able to file a ticket directly to Freshdesk, which helps both our team and your team. You don't have to go digging for that merge report. It'll be embedded right in that ticket. And then on our end, it'll save some back and forth trying to understand, what specific section or record you might be talking about, because we'll have the merge report right there too. So all that to say, these are just a few highlights of what's coming, but really we are intending to make integrations easier to understand and more of a sort of daily checklist for your team to be able to resolve issues rather than needing to check in multiple places.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jane. I know as I was prepping this with you, I was super excited by a number of those, as I'm sure many of our institutions will be. I think all of those are going to be a huge help in not only troubleshooting merges, but also being able to get to those solutions quicker. So very excited for when that'll be coming later this year. Let's see. I do see lots of questions have been coming through the Q&A section here. Are there any additional questions at this time? It looks like at this point, all of those questions have been answered by our wonderful CourseDog customer success helper in the background here. But if not, it sounds like we'll go ahead and wrap up our session here for today. One thing I did want to quickly shout out before we do close out here is some special thanks to another one of our integrations product managers, Alex Bergazzoli, who is responsible for a good portion of the content in today's presentation. For those of you who didn't attend the Academic Operations Conference that we held last week, Alex and I co-presented this same session here during the conference. So did want to make sure that we shouted out Alex for his assistance with providing these troubleshooting tips, techniques, do's, and don'ts for you all here today as well. So before we wrap up, as usual, integrations is one of the kind of cornerstones of how our product operates here at CourseDog, and not just one or a couple of our products, but every single one of the products that we offer here. So for those of you who might be interested in learning more about additional products that we offer here, I believe there will be a poll here that should be coming up shortly, just gauging that interest there so that folks can reach out and get you that information if you are curious about learning anything more about the suite of products that we offer here. So with that said, we thank you so much for your time and thank you for your attention today. I really hope that you took away a couple of nuggets of knowledge here that you'll keep in your back pocket anytime a merge error might pop up or might have given you some strategies to get ahead of any integration or merge errors you might run into. We really appreciate you attending, and if you have any questions, feel free to submit those support tickets or reach out to your CSM or PM, whoever your primary point of contact is. Alrighty, thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.